Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and this is Patron Hangout number 207. Welcome everybody who is in the chat room. I think I've said hello to everyone so far. Oh, no, Lane is now here, so I haven't said hello to Lane yet. I'm glad you're here. And there are some people on the eastern seaboard of the U.S. who are engulfed in rather bad hurricane hitting them. And in Maryland, somebody said he was surfing. No, in Maryland, it's kind of not veering toward us. So our weather is gray, but no rain at the moment and no waves. So we're good. And if you're new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. Check my playlists for other cases you might be interested in. If you have a specific case you're interested in, please go to the search engine at YouTube and put in Profiler Pat Brown and whatever case it is. And if you'd like to be in the chat room with these lovely people, the live shows are 2 a week, a hangout like tonight, and also the case show on the weekend. And they're 8 a month, and they are patron only for the most part, except for once in a while I open it up to the public so you can see what it's like, or because the subject matter is something I really want everybody to jump in on. But I do love having patron only hangouts because it makes things much more pleasant and makes it for a nice community. But so join Patreon, the link below, $5 a month, and it helps an educational channel. But if you don't want to do that, all of my videos are public once the live part is over. So there's nothing hidden. You can see everything because this is an educational channel, and I'm not trying to like hide education from you. So hi, Chelsea, you're here too. Oh, you're up in Connecticut. So yes, it's I think if you have to be further south to get nailed. Hi, Tina. Humid Houston. That's pretty much normal, isn't it? Actually, we had a very hot, humid summer here in Maryland and very heavy rains. But today is just dull and depressing. That's the other weather in Maryland. So just to let you know, since somebody mentioned surfing, I'm like, why are you asking me that question? I did make the decision, and I am going to be in Hawaii from December 31st through March 25th. I have been saying year after year after year, I hate the Maryland winters. It depresses me every time. And yet it's hard to plan to go away for 3 months away from your own home and take a risk, roll the dice. But I'm like, my sister told me, she's like, you keep saying this, for God's sakes, go do it. If you hate it, you hate it, but at least go do it. And so I am doing it. I have already got my place in Oahu and in Honolulu, and it's a shithole. I'm telling you, a very expensive one, mind you. It's just a room in somebody's house, and it's not in the greatest of areas. I think when I walk out, I can probably trip over a homeless guy and go to a titty bar down the street. But it's also near the mall, and I can walk to the beach, and I can get on the bus, and I can go either direction all over the island. And I've already found my table tennis place and my coach, and I've got pickleball and Scrabble club on Wednesday night. So I'm trying to find things to do so that I can enjoy myself living there as opposed to being a tourist. So yeah, there's no room. It's a little room. It's it's a little room. Yeah, if I could have rented a whole house and everybody come, that would have been really cool. But this is something I've been trying to figure out how to do, and I don't know if I'm gonna hate it. Get really lonely. I've been in Hawaii many times, and I love the place, but I've only been there for a shorter period of time as more of a tourist, temporary resident. I haven't been there for that long. And next year I might go to India. I have a place already picked out. In India, it's $300 a month. And the lady said she would cook for me. I was like, that's amazing. So next year I may do India for 3 months, depending on how this goes this winter. So it's kind of scary because I have my home here, and it's just weird to go away from my home for that long. But every winter I just lose it right after Christmas, and the New Year's comes, and then it's just so depressing for the next 3 months. And I said, I got to do it. So, hi, you okay? Hello, how are you? I'm doing okay. Can I ask you questions? Did you start your channel when COVID started? Yes. I would never have started this channel if it hadn't been for COVID, because since YouTube is such a long shot and the only 1/4% of people on YouTube and YouTubers, people have a YouTube channel, make any money. And most of those people make a couple $100 a month if they're lucky. And you can't work full time on YouTube and not earn a living, or it's just obviously it's just kind of stupid. So if it hadn't been for COVID, which basically forced me to not work outside the home, and I was getting unemployment at that time, sitting in my house going insane, and somebody suggested, why don't you start a YouTube channel? And I thought, well, most of the time you can't be successful with them, especially at my age, because it's really a lot of younger people with YouTube channels. But I said, well, what the hell? I'm not doing anything anyway. So I did. And it was only because of COVID I could hang in for as long as I did. It took me 4 months to get monetized. And then I made really crappy, teeny little bits of money until about a year and a half. I finally got some success in the algorithm. And that made it starting to be possible. I was getting somewhat of a salary, not a great one, mind you, not even minimum wage at that point, but at least something. And then it's increased. And I'm never going to be a person making millions of dollars, but for a person who's 70 who can't hire people, don't hire people who are 70 outside, even though I worked as a professor, I can't get a job as one in the real world. They don't hire you at this age. And anybody who's over a certain age knows it's very difficult to get a job. And now it's even harder to get a job when you're 40 or 50. So I'm very thankful I have this job. It doesn't pay what I used to make, but I am 70 and I could be retired and living on Social Security, but this is a better deal for me. So yeah, but it's always a long shot. So my son has had a channel just as long as me, and he hasn't been monetized yet. And he would really love to be a YouTuber and make his living off of that, but yeah, he hasn't made a penny. So, and my other channel, my Dear Profiler Pat channel, check it out, guys. My advice channel, people seem to really like it, but I make the average is like $15 a month right now. But thankfully, I like giving advice. So it's like, okay, so this video made $2. You have to have a sense of humor. But anyway, so that's the way it works. But I was, if it wasn't for COVID, I probably wouldn't have this YouTube channel. I wouldn't have taken the chance. It just, I would keep working outside the home, shall we say. Caitlin says, don't remind me, Pat, I'm over 50. It's hard once you hit a certain pay grade. It's even harder if you don't have a pay grade. If you've been out, I have my daughter's, one of her best friends. She stayed home with the kids and tried to go back to work at 40. And she worked to get certifications in the field that she had worked in before. And none of them did anything. And then AI came in and kind of killed the field. She looked for 2.5 years and could not land a job in her 40s. She finally got one, finally. So she's working for the police department, doing, I guess, some kind of inputting of information for crimes and things like that. But it was crazy. So there's a lot of people out there can't get a job over 40. It's nuts. So when you're over 70, you're like, yeah, too much competition. It's very difficult. And it's just that for whatever reasons, people like to hire people that are younger, who are easier to manage, and they can control more. It's just the world has changed a lot. So I found out that I think it was, what was it? Only one woman for the 70 and above. I think it's only 1 in 10 women have employment. 1 in 10. Something like that. It was crazy. And then out of those, they didn't even say it was full-time work. So I'm guessing a lot of it's just part-time. It's very difficult to get work. So what can I say? I'm going to be one of those greeters. I think they're getting rid of the greeters now too. So they got rid of the cashiers, they got rid of the greeters, And so, and with so many things being taken over by AI and other methods, a lot of people aren't just not. They don't need them anymore, shall we say. Well, it's a rough world. It's a rough world. I'm very fortunate to be here and at least earning a living so that I can continue. So anyway, I will be in Hawaii and it'll be interesting. I don't know. It's scary. Not that I don't love Hawaii, but just it's scary because it's being away for so long and living in conditions which are a little sketchy, almost like hostile conditions, like in a hostel, not hostile. And I have traveled around the world a lot. I'm a very non-picky person, so I don't get real upset about lack of perfection and get along well. But still, it's a question of after you're there a while, you're like, I wish I could go home, even if it's beautiful. So I don't know. We'll find out, won't we? Oh, who's going to feed Mac? I knew that question was going to come up. Mac the cat, the feral cat. Well, I'm going to put out. I've already planned to have all the dry food, the meow mix, and my granddaughter will come in once a week and fill up a very large bowl with meow mix and a very large bowl of water. And the funny thing is, let's see the latest picture of Max here. Here he is. There he is, pretending he doesn't see me, as he always comes in and he sits down and closes his eyes. I don't see you. But the funny thing about that is when he was sitting there, it was actually kind of cool because he actually he wasn't near the door for once. He was actually near my bed. And I got out of bed like within a foot of him and he didn't even move. So I was like, whoa, he's much more secure. So I sat right down next to him and I've never seen him do that before. But so Mac, when I'm gone, my granddaughter will come in once a week and she'll fill up both of those bowls. And two things will happen. Well, one or the other will happen. Either Mac will be sad that he doesn't come and get to lick the fancy food off my hand and get the fancy food and come into my bedroom and spend time in there. Or Mac will go, oh, thank God I don't have to deal with that big creature. So I don't know which way it's going to be. He could be happy I'm not around and he just has the house to himself, come and go when he wants. He doesn't have to deal with the monster, And we'll see if I come home and he's still there. Yeah. You think he's going to miss me? I don't know. He is a feral cat. I don't know how much he misses me. He looks that way, but he closes his eyes on purpose to pretend I'm not there. It's he's smiling. No, not really, but okay. He is cute. He is cute. So yes, that's my granddaughter's job. I'll pay her, of course. So, but we'll see what happens. It is kind of sad, because I've spent so much time working to get Mac to be near me, but I can't. No, he's not going to bring anybody over. After he eats, he sprays the door frame on the way out, make sure that no other cat gets near his food. So that's, we'll see what happens. But I figure, I can't stay home for the feral cat, because obviously I can't live my life based on that I need to feed the feral cat at night. But I will not leave him without food. I will definitely have him fed during the winter. And when I come home, either he will be back to where he was before and won't get near me, or he will just be right. Sometimes animals are funny. It's like no day has passed and all of a sudden he'll just roll right in. So we'll see what happens. So anyway, the first thing I want to talk about is actually not in the news. It's my news. And this is I think it's an experience which I've just recently had. And I want to tell people about it because it'll affect a lot of people who are dealing with scams. And, I've talked about scams before where people they get a text or an email, they get a phone call that claims that, I don't know, something wrong with their bank account. There's something wrong somewhere. And we're with the FBI or we're with the bank. And they get the people to give them money. They don't even know who these people are. And some people even going to parking lots and handing people over like $10,000 in a parking lot. It's like, oh, are you serious? And so, of course, I've warned people against all these kinds of things. And if you do have something like this happen, coming through your text, coming through whatever, here's what you do. You take the concept of what they're asking. Let's say they are from Facebook, or they say they are from Wells Fargo Bank or whatever. You go take the concept. You can just cut and paste, or just copy and paste, not cut and paste. I guess copy and paste. You can cut and paste, but anyway, you take that over to Google and just throw it in there, and you see immediately you will see things come up and say, "That's a scam. That's a scam. That's a scam," and you'll get the exact same wording. So you can find out that way. If you can't find out that way, you call the bank. You call the fraud unit. You say, look, I just got this. Is this fraud? Are you asking me for this information? And they will say, hell no, we're not asking. We don't do that. FBI does not do that. The IRS does not do that. So they will tell you that. So just don't throw away, don't give money to people. You don't know who the heck the money is, on this concept that we have to, some kind of weird thing like you have to make somebody's access your account. Therefore, you need to hand me $10,000 so I can use it to, It's always a ridiculous scam. Or the last one I talked about where the woman was trying to sell like a $300 bicycle or something, and then people say, well, I don't have 300, I only have this $1,000 I can send you, and so you have to send me back I'll send you you send me 1,000, I'll send you back 700. Sell the bike to somebody else, because that's a scam. So just don't do that. So anyway, those are all the kinds of certain kinds of scams. So I'm trying to fix something. That's really weird, huh? Anyway, I'm getting a weird vibration in the background, which I've never seen before. I'm not on a green screen, so I don't know why it's doing that. But here's the one. Oh, that's interesting. Tina says, my 83-year-old stepmom calls me all the time asking about texts or emails she thinks looks fishy. And she's right. They're all fishy. That's right. They are. Well, there's so many scams. They're from every country, and they're probably actually not coming from Europe or even the US. They're probably coming from some, they'll joke the Nigerian prince scams and stuff like that. It's crazy stuff. And in my own town, Abu, Maryland, there have been people, they have actually had a bunch of senior citizens who have been out in parking lots handing money over to people they think are the FBI. And they've lost some incredible amounts of money. And I know some of these people must maybe have some dementia, which is why senior citizens are targeted. So I want to tell you about how I was targeted. So this is not an email scam. This is in real life. So this happened in March. I was shopping. I went to Mom's, the health food store. Was running in to get a bottle of olive oil. My granddaughter was in the car, and we pulled up. I pulled forward into the space. You know how you pull through. Now I'm driving a Mazda Miata. It's a small car. I pulled straight through, so I was in the middle of the space. But the person next to me had this big old car, and she had parked near the white line. So it narrows the space that the driver needs to get out of the vehicle. Now, mind you, if this happens on the passenger side, it's not such a big deal because the driver can always move forward, let the passenger out, or let the passenger in. But if you're the driver, you can't. You don't have much choice. So you have to get out on the driver's side at that spot. So it was very narrow. So I was getting out, and I carefully opened the door. As I stood up, the door just touched her car. Now, mind you, it didn't hit her car. Just pointing this out because this is true. Didn't hit her car. It's not like I threw the door open. Whack. I didn't whack her car. I got out, and the door was close to her car and touched her vehicle. And I was concerned because I'm like, well, I didn't hit her vehicle, but I could, maybe I could have scratched it, So I closed the door and I looked at the exact spot, and there was nothing there. So I'm like, oh, good, because I don't have a paper and pencil to leave information to call me. I'd have to wait for a person to come out so I could share, insurance information for a scratch, But luckily there wasn't one. So I'm like, okay. I didn't hit her car. I just touched it. So anyway, there was a big, huge SUV, and I didn't see anybody was in it from my angle. And as I walked around the SUV, this woman starts shouting out of the car, what did you hit my car? You hit my car. And I'm like, I said, I apologize because it was a narrow space between the car. And when I got out, my car door did touch your vehicle, but I checked the spot. There is no damage. There is no scratch. And she just kept shouting and screaming at me. You just blah, 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 blah. So she became threatening. So I kind of just wanted to walk away from her. So I did. And I went to the store and got my olive oil. Came right back out. So I was only in there for like 3 minutes. And I locked the door, so my granddaughter was in there with a locked car. Now I look back and think maybe I shouldn't have left her. She's 11, but still, I'm with the crazy lady. But anyway, I came out and the vehicle was gone. I'm like, Well, good. The crazy lady left. So as I'm walking toward my car, all of a sudden that same woman comes out from the other side, from a different space. She had, according to my granddaughter, left the parking lot, came back, and pulled into, she actually in a handicap spot, which she didn't have right to be in. Now she's shrieking at me. You give me your insurance. You scratched my car up. And I'm like, oh, I forgot to tell you. I asked her, I said, if you want to get out and look at the car, because my car's parked next to hers, and you would want her to get out to see where my car door would actually touch her car door and cause any damage. She wouldn't get out. So what she did was she left and she came back, parking elsewhere, so you could not determine where my car door would have hit her car, right? That was, and she was shrieking at me, and I felt unsafe at that point because she was coming after. She's a very large woman, very angry. And so I got in the car, and she said, I'm calling the police. And I said, fine, do that. I'm going to call too. And so I left the parking lot, and I did call the police. And I called my daughter too, because my daughter is police. And so she also called over the police. And the police did come over, and they said the woman wanted me to be arrested for leaving the scene of an accident, which theoretically, supposedly, I can be charged with that. So if you touch somebody's car with your door, that is an accident, by the way, just in case you don't know that. And so she said, but he was laughing. The guy's like, the woman was, and no, I didn't. She had so many scratches on her side of the damn car. She was looking to find someone to get their insurance to pay to reside her vehicle. And so I was the target because I was there to be targeted. And she did go to the insurance company. Our insurance company had to look over the whole thing. They got all the photos. Our insurance company said, we don't see any damage. We see other stuff all over the car. We don't see anything where your car should have hit, door should have touched. And this went on. It's been a while. Now it's been 6 months. Yeah. And finally, I guess she gave up because we haven't heard back from her insurance company. So I guess they told her to drop it. Thank God. Okay. So now, so that happened. But then 2 days ago, guess what happened? It happened again. Only it even gets worse. So I parked my car. I go with a friend, and we're going for a walk and get something to eat. Came back. And when I had parked, I was in the middle of the space, and this person parked next to me, was just a good distance away, easy to get in and out. Somebody had come in and pulled up on that driver's side like this. And I'm like, okay, I am going to be damn sure that my car door, when I get in my car, does not touch this person's car, right? I open it. I'm like, trying to slither in. And just as I sit in the car, a woman comes barreling out. You hit my car. I'm like, again. And I'm like, no, I said, I never touched your car. You parked too close, but I didn't touch your car. I was very careful. And you can see there's an inch between my door and your car. She started going, you're in my space. You don't have any respect, blah, blah, blah. And then she, unfortunately, I will get to that in a minute about the pull out a phone. Yes, it's a good idea. And take, this is absolutely what you have to do. Pull out a phone, take a pic after you get out as proof. Yes. She then went on a rant. It was kind of a racist rant against me and my big white. And now, mind you, I want to point out something because sometimes people don't understand. Are we talking about a hate kind of crime? If people get real political about things, and politics does affect people's attitudes. But understand this: I live in a majority African American town, and I've lived here for 10 years, and everybody's been great. During some political times, there have been some behaviors which I found less warm than I've experienced in the past, but not from people I know, just from people going in and out of like a store where they just drop the door on you, and very uncomfortable. But for the most part, no, this is stuff that doesn't happen in our town. But there just seems to be an influx of people because it's a very wealthy town. It's the wealthiest African American town in the United States. And there's been an influx recently of people coming in from DC and from the other surrounding areas, so who aren't long-term people who live in Bowie in the big houses. So there may be some just different kinds of people moving in. And what people do sometimes, so you don't always feel like it's a racial incident. Sometimes people will use whatever they can against you. If they're that kind of bad person to begin with, they'll use it against you because they can, not because. So if I were somebody slightly different, they might find a different way to use something against me. So it isn't necessarily that. It's just that's what they can use to frighten you, to make you fearful, to make you feel like whatever they're trying to make you feel like, because they're trying to get over on you. They're trying to intimidate, and so they use whatever intimidation methods they have. And I believe that this is the second time. Now, luckily, this time I told the woman after she was all ranting and raving, I did what she said, and I said, back off, and she did. But if this woman had filed a report, people would think I'm Munchausen syndrome. It's like the insurance company is going, "Oh, come on, lady! Either you're hitting everybody's freaking cars, or you're lying about things. You're a victim. You're pretending to be a victim when you're not." And it's like, because it was so strange to have it happen twice, almost the same exact way, except this time I didn't even touch her car. But very unnerving. And so you do have to protect yourself against these kind of things. Now, I want to point out this woman in our county. I thought this was interesting. Where is she? This woman. She said she doesn't like our county now. She said bye PG County. She's moving to the next county over, and she's leave the hood to level up. No, we don't. My area is not the hood. But some of PG County could be called that. Anyway, interesting enough, she's had similar problems. She's not white. She's having a similar problem. She said a woman pulled up to her. She was walking her dogs, 2 little white dogs. Woman pulled up, jumped out of a vehicle and said, "You stole my dog." She's like, what? She said the woman was calling the dog by whatever the dog's name was supposed to be. And she's like, the dog wasn't responding because it wasn't her dog. And she's like, what the heck? And she has had a bunch of these kinds of incidents, which are scam. They're versions of scams to threaten a person, to get them to give money, to get them to be frightened, to try to, whatever they're trying to do, or just because I like to intimidate people. So it isn't a race thing. It's just a thing. But it happens, and I've never had it happen in my neighborhood before, so it's kind of shocking to me to have it happen here. And I think I'm getting targeted because I have a little red Mazda Miata, and I'm now a senior citizen, which means that I'm vulnerable because senior citizens, because of their age, and often because some of them are frail. I'm not frail, but there are some very frail senior citizens who get punched as a fun thing to do. Get harmed because they feel the senior citizen is going to be frightened, which they probably will be, and they don't know what to do, and and so senior citizens are often targeted, but other people are also targeted too. So not quite off the hook. So this young woman, I don't know why she got targeted. She does seem to be. I think she's a little on the dainty side. I'm not sure, but anyway, you can get targeted for all kinds of reasons. Because you're female, because you're small, because whatever, because you're driving some kind of vehicle somebody thinks is worth something, or they think you have money. So my car is not really the type that would be carjacked. People wouldn't steal my car because they'd rather have, if I were driving a black Lexus, I'd be carjacked in a heartbeat. But I'm not driving a Lexus. I'm driving an old red sports car, and respectable car thieves really don't want to be seen in one of those. So I'm probably not in danger from having people carjack me, but they might think mistakenly because it looks like a snazzy car, even though it's 2009. So believe me, it's not like I have an expensive car, but they might think I have money and I'm a senior citizen. So therefore I will cave and then give in because I'll be frightened. So, you can be targeted for quite a number of reasons, but this is how I park at the grocery store. Now, you want to say this? There I am. Yep. Okay, then, because now on the left side, I'll have the cart return. Nobody can park on my left side. I can get out of my car freely without worrying about anybody's car being there. And so that's now my grocery store method. And if I have in other places, I will at this point, if I can park further away, so that even a bunch of empty spaces, so that I'm not nearer, so I don't pull into a space with people on both sides. I can park farther away where nobody's going to park next to me. I'm good with doing that. I'd rather walk the extra distance than be targeted in this kind of scam thing that seems to be going on. So, and there's another type of scam too, which people recommend having the cameras there, the videos in the front, because people will pull in front of you and then back up and smash your car, and then they will claim you hit them, because the person that's behind the car that's behind is always a responsible party for when this guy stops short and you run into the back of him. Even if he stopped short and shouldn't have, you get nailed for the accident because you're following too closely. So what they do is they pull in front of you and back up to make it look like you hit them. And that's another scam. So having the video makes a huge difference. So I just wanted to share that with you because, might help you out. It's just some really annoying crap. It is a crazy world. I mean, just crazy world. Don't get out of your car if someone next to you is still in theirs. I didn't know the woman was in the car because she had a big SUV and she was on the other side. I never saw her. And the second time, there was nobody in the car. I was getting in. She ran up on me. So it's just frustrating as heck. And Pat, as a criminal profiler, make you less likely to be manipulated. Yes, if I have a chance to respond. Having traveled around the world as far as homeless people go, I've been in countries where people are really homeless, not because of drugs, not because of mental illness, but because, like in certain places in India, they're homeless because they just can't afford a home. Even there, you have to be cautious about who you give money to, because there are scams in India where there have been children who have been essentially homeless children, not with parents who are maybe not around, and they're being brought into the kind of Oliver Twist thing. And some of them have been blinded and had their limbs damaged or removed so that they can get more money. And so they send them out, these youth, to get money. People feel sorry for them, obviously, and then they have to. Then their money goes back to the guy who runs the whole crooked thing, and then he feeds the children, but he takes the money. So most of India doesn't have scams like that, but it does exist in certain places. But in the United States, we have a tremendous amount of homeless people now, and most of it is to do with drugs and mental illness. I don't give any money. No. I won't do that. I always just say I don't carry money, and I don't. I don't carry money, so I can't give you money that I don't have, because I don't carry money. But some places I avoid because they can be dangerous. There was a fellow in Denver. I remember I was passing by him on the main street in Denver, and he was sitting there, and he had a sign that said, "Give $1, prevent a crime." And I kind of laughed, and he called me the B word. Anyway, so but it was funny, but he was obviously, that was a sort of a threat and a joke, but a threat. Give me $1 and I won't commit a criminal act. So yes, and so obviously I'm not scammed easily as far as stuff coming online, people making phone calls, all that stuff I'm fairly aware of. But I have to say, having people accost me in a parking lot is frightening, because we're talking about disparity between size and anger. And I don't know who this crazy human being, this person who is willing to do this, is willing to do to me. And I felt physically threatened. And that's, so my daughter, who has police detective, recommends from now on, she said, you might have to, as you're going to your car and going from your car, start videoing. If you're concerned, start videoing even before anybody rolls up. And if they start at you, you tell them, I'm videoing this. You need to back away. I did not, I have not, I am not going, this scam is not going to work. I did not touch your vehicle or your person, and you need to back away now because I'm going to move backward myself and call the police. And that's a weird way to live. You know what I mean? And what happens in Hawaii, I don't know. I won't have a car there, so at least that won't be an issue. Oh, well, wait a minute. I'll park next to a beat up crappy car. They shouldn't care. Scrappy car. Some of those want you to fix their car. That's why especially if they have a slightly messed up car, they want to get you to completely side their whole car. You'd be surprised. It's just, yeah, but that's just be careful out there. And that's the way it is. And it's, very frustrating. And it's certainly something new for me. I haven't experienced in this area. And, you always feel very safe until the day you don't feel safe. Yeah. And, that's why I tell women, don't be jogging. Don't be jogging at dusk or dawn on isolated bike paths. Please don't do that, because there are creeps out there and there are serial killers out there and serial rapists. And nothing's ever happened to me yet. No, that's the problem. Yet. And then one day it may happen to you. And that's not what you want to have happen to you, because anybody who's ever been violently sexually assaulted or violently robbed, whatever, that's something they will tell you after when it happened. It was like so terrifying and so horrifying, and they've ever since then they've lost their sense of feeling safe, because they realize it can happen to them, and that's frightening. So yeah. it's scary. Oh, I can say that. That might be one thing. I'm calling my daughter, who works, with the police department. Yeah. I mean, you can use whatever you can use to back them off. Try to keep a calm voice, but tell them I'm videoing this, and I will be calling 911 next, because you are threatening me. You are aggressive. I feel threatened by you. And I just, you could be called a Karen, and I mean, I don't know, that woman could have videotaped me and I'd be on, TikTok looking like a damn fool. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. I'm very sad. Speaking of which, I got called by somebody wanted me to do a thing for Fox on this case. It was there was a man up in, let's see, in Philadephia, and they got a video of the guy, and then they did catch the guy. Thank God they caught the guy. But they asked me if I would talk about that, and I don't do TV because they don't pay, and I refuse to work for free when they're making money off of me. But where is this guy? Oh, here he is. So here was a video that they had of this guy walking along in the area, and they wanted me to talk about him and what do I think. This is before they actually caught him. But it said this man was accused of sexually assaulting 5 women in Philadelphia. And the times were interesting. I'm not quite sure of the area because I don't live in Philly. So, I know it said Center City in South Philadelphia. So I vaguely know it, but I don't know it real well. This guy was arrested. He was wanted in connection to 6 sexual assaults that occurred between July 18th and August 3rd. So he was like, boom, 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 boom. The first reported assault was at 6:40 a.m. A man sexually assaulted a woman as she was walking her dog. Now, 6:40 a.m., I'm going to say probably the street she was on wasn't having a lot of traffic. You got to watch out for low traffic times when the street is not full of people. So the person's looking around and said, there's no witnesses. That's cool. Second assault took place at 3:13 a.m. A woman was entering an apartment building. And here's a problem. I mean, if you live someplace and you've been out all evening, or you work, you might do an evening job, and you might get off very late at night or early in the morning, and you don't come home till 3 o'clock in the morning. So you might be on that shift work, and you don't have a choice. So you take buses, you get on the bus, you get off the bus, you walk to your apartment, and there's the guy because nobody else is around. So 3:13, and then the next one was 8:15. Third incident. Fourth incident was at 1 a.m. This woman was walking to her car. Fifth incident was 2 a.m. A woman told police a man approached her and he said, which I thought was interesting, "Let me touch you." He then fondled the woman and pushed her against a vehicle until she broke free and ran. Now, let me do the other one. Sixth incident was 12:30 p.m., which that was actually in the middle of the day. A woman was assaulted as she was opening her front door. He came up behind them and he groped them in all the incidents. Now, when they first said sexually assaulted, and there was something about it that made me think that we were talking about groping incidents and not full-fledged rapes. And it turned out that was what it was. He groped all of them. And the police said, well, in some instances, things might have gone a little further. I don't know quite what that means. But anyway, they got a video of him. They arrested him. He's a 37-year-old man who has, let's see, they believe he's responsible for other incidents that haven't been reported. Why haven't they been reported? Because being groped, a lot of people don't report being groped because it happens so quickly. The guy is gone. They don't think the police are ever going to catch the guy. I remember being groped going into a gas station when I think I was 19. I was going into a gas station, walking into the little where you used to pay, where you used to have to actually pay money. I was walking in and a guy on the way out just sort of grabbed my boob on the way out. And I remember that feeling, and he was gone, and I was like, well, and so I just paid for my gas, got in the car, and drove away. And I remember that it was very upsetting, but there was nothing I could do about it, so I didn't report it. So anyway, court records show that he had an extensive criminal history prior to the most recent allegations. Extensive criminal history. I will say that I believe he commits what's called crap crimes. A lot of what I call crap crimes. A person that will do all kinds, just steal stuff, vandalize, burgle a little bit. Where just one crappy little thing after another. But the sexual assaults, which are groping crimes, would have to take them seriously, just like Peeping Tom thinks you should take it very seriously, because groping crimes turn into worse things. So, in other words, he's practicing, he's getting used to doing this stuff. He's getting into a woman's space and territory, and he's getting bolder and bolder and bolder, and eventually he'll rape somebody if he hasn't already done so. But because he keeps groping and groping, I think he might not have gone to the next step. But this is sometimes they'll just go, well, all he did was touch somebody, so I'll give him 30 days, 30 days community service. And yet this is pre-rape behavior, and this guy can turn into a serial rapist or a serial killer. So this is not something you want to take lightly. And unfortunately, I'd say a lot of times it isn't reported. Oh yeah. Don't yell fire. Please don't yell fire. It's just stupid. I don't know where anybody came up with that idiocy. Because you yell fire. Well, if you're being attacked and nobody sees a fire and they hear somebody yelling fire, they're not going to come running to help you, first of all, because it doesn't make any damn sense. And it just has no effect. It's just stupid. It has no effect. You'd be better off screaming, I'm being attacked, call the police. That would be better. They may not come and save you, but at least they call the police. So you can say, help, I'm being attacked. Anything you can get out of this actual information would be useful. And people need to know what the problem is, because otherwise I just think it's a bunch of teenagers screaming stupid stuff. And so, yeah, it's like, nobody's paying attention to that. But if you actually hear, help, I'm being attacked, call the police, you might get somebody to actually do something. The best thing is try not to be in a place where, there's no witnesses. Witnesses will save your butt. So even in the parking lot, probably I was not in danger of being assaulted, because people were coming and going to their cars. And I could get very loud and say, please stay away from me. You're threatening me. Please stay away from me. And then people would start looking, and that person would, not probably attack me at that point physically. So, but sometimes the problem is if you're not ready for this stuff, what happens is people don't understand why sometimes people don't shout, don't scream. Why don't they do something? Because you're so stunned. I mean, the first time it happened, I was so stunned. I'm like, I wasn't ready to respond. And because I wasn't ready to respond, I mean, I did what I didn't do too badly, but I didn't do too well either. Even though I'm a criminal profiler, I was shocked. I really was. I was shocked. This is my town. This were the last time people said, "Hey, how you doing? Good morning," and all of a sudden, this happens out of nowhere. I mean, it's like, what the hell, And it's shocking, and so it causes you to freeze and not respond. And if you're suddenly being attacked by some creepy dude, I mean, a lot of times you can't get a voice out of your mouth. You just can't. You can't even shout. And I have to say that some of us aren't screamers. I'm not a screamer. My sister's a screamer. She's a really good screamer. I used to lay in her closet. And when she opened the door up when I was a kid, she opened the door and she'd scream really super loud. It was fun. But if she did that to me, I go, huh. That's all I would have done. I don't scream. I'm not a screamer. I don't even have it in my brain to scream. So I'll be even loud. So sometimes it's just, personality wise, we're just not equipped for that kind of thing. So the bros of Philly would be eager to help. It's that kind of city if they knew it was happening. And I'm sure this guy is picking a time when nobody saw him. And luckily there are cameras. The cameras are a huge help. But yeah, it's like, the people that don't understand how this happens so quickly. And what they do not understand is that serial killers, for example, who abduct somebody from a shopping center, they go, I don't understand how they could have abducted that girl right off the sidewalk of a shopping center. There's people around. No. There were people around on other days. So that guy's probably cruising up that sidewalk after, it's getting dark and the employees are coming. No, everything's being shut down and employees are coming out. He's cruised and he saw this pretty girl, right behind her was somebody else. He just kept going. Did that on Monday, did that on Tuesday, did that on Wednesday, did that. Oh, Thursday, he pulls up, girl comes out and nobody's around. Whoosh, she's gone. So Mr. Molester dude probably went by many women he never bothered until there was one. He goes, nobody around, and that's how it works. So nobody's around, and it kind of sucks, That's why, again, witnesses. If you're going to go running, jogging, be in a location where there's lots of other people doing exactly the same thing, and it's constant. So it's not like one person runs by and 10 minutes later another person runs by. That's where you get pulled into the bushes and murdered. Even if it's a path people use, if there's too much time in between, especially at dusk, everybody's gone home, or dawn when nobody's gotten there yet, and so sparse as far as people. That's when the killers hit. So, yeah, witnesses. All right, onward. I want to talk about. It never ends. I swear to God, it never ends. Here we have the Kardashians. They're in on the Amy Bradley thing. They're going to milk this thing God knows how long. And Amy Bradley is not going to be found. Nobody's going to be charged with kidnapping Amy Bradley. But God knows how much is being done on this case. And now, so the Kardashians have rolled in. Yes, they have. Kim and Khloe have rolled in. And it's here. Okay. Sources tell TMZ Kim and Khloe personally called Amy's mom, Iva, last Thursday, chatting for about an hour as Iva filled them in on the case and where things stand now. I'm going to say, Kardashian ladies, there is a bunch of cases which could really use your help. This is not one of them. And when I say use their help, I mean their money and their ability to get in the media. And of course, Kim Kardashian has gotten innocent people out of jail, prison. Actually, guilty people for the most part. She's an Innocence Project person, and she gets a lot of people who are not really innocent out of prison, but she does get attention, and she does get the media attention, which is why she can put a lot of pressure on the public, the public gets all involved, and then they put pressure on the politicians, and again, so she does have an effect, not because she knows what she's doing, just because she's a well-known person. So I guess she's going to help find Amy Bradley. And so Amy's family reached out after Kim posted about the new Netflix doc, Amy Bradley is Missing. And we're told Kim and Khloe were especially intrigued by the detail about an IP address in Barbados that kept checking the Amy Bradley is Missing site. It raises eyebrows because whoever was behind it, behind what? Seemed behind the checking of the whatever, seemed way too interested in old family photos, even pics of Amy's car, because there's not like lunatics in this world who just obsess over things. We're told no cameras were rolling and the call was totally genuine. The Kardashians were really there to listen and brainstorm on how they could help. Maybe by telling the family that she wasn't kidnapped by sex traffickers. That would help. Amy vanished from blah, 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 blah. And they have a gut feeling she's still alive. Yeah, right. Okay. So, no, she's still alive. I guess she's in somebody's basement being trafficked for the last 30 years, or she's been happily prostituting herself for the last 30 years, and she's 50 now, but she still can make her money, even though she's not on OnlyFans. And she's not going to contact her family in any way, shape, or form because she doesn't miss them at all. Okay. But then I want to, where's the other one? Oh, where's what's his name? Yeah, here. Okay. Brad Bradley, who oddly looks like Ellen DeGeneres. Is this just in my imagination? Does he look like Ellen DeGeneres? For a minute there, I thought that's who it was. So anyway, Amy's brother, Brad, who is instrumental in this whole Netflix garbage. And I don't know if he's doing it for free or he got paid. Documentaries don't like to pay anybody, especially professionals. They don't like to pay. I mean, that's why I do them so rarely, because I'm like, they want me to work for free. I'm like, no, not doing it. But they will pay certain people. They will. And so they will pay certain people huge amounts of money because they're going to make that much money if they can get those people involved. I'm not saying they paid Brad because he may still want to find his sister. So they might have gotten him for free, but if he wouldn't do it for free, maybe they would be willing to pay him a bunch of money because they're making a fortune off this stupid documentary. Anyway, where's Brad? Brad, where are you on my thing here? Okay. Amy Bradley's brother counters claims made in the Netflix series, which is kind of funny. Oh, so you had issues with the series? Okay, why is that? Let's see. Their family continues to hold hope, calling it a gut feeling that Amy is still alive, and lack of concrete confirmation about her fate. Okay, I get that. All right. When asked about his sister's personality, he described it as life of the party, a multi-sport athlete. She was always a great sister and friend. He was annoyed that they focused on her sexuality. He says it was an incomplete portrayal. And at the time of the cruise, Amy was dating a guy. Okay. When asked about a letter a woman claimed to receive from Amy at the end of the series, he described it as a, quote, forgive me letter after Amy was, quote, caught kissing another girl. Brad said his sister was, quote, poetic and doesn't believe there's anything cryptic from the message in the bottle. He believes she had no plans of suicide. There was no conflict over her sexuality. That she came out to myself and my parents in 1995. Okay, then she is gay. Just saying. Okay. Maybe she's bi. About 3 years prior to the cruise. I guess you could say there was some surprise. I guess my parents had to come to terms with the fact that she wouldn't be a source of grandchildren for them. Well, back in those days, probably that might be true if she's gay. These days, things are different. But all that was well gotten past. Amy's girlfriends and boyfriends came to the house. Her girlfriend spent the night. Girlfriends went on vacation with us. In fact, Molly was at the parents' house eating Easter dinner with us in 2024. We all accepted Amy and loved her for just as she always was. Okay, and Brad believes she was taken from the ship. We know she didn't jump. No, you don't, but okay. She was never willing to go near the rail at any point during the cruise. Well, people who commit suicide don't do things that normally wouldn't do. Like most people don't put a gun to their head and say, before that, she never put a gun to her head and pretended to pull the trigger. Before that, she never hung a rope in her closet. You know what I mean? That's because they weren't planning to do that at that time. We have 3 eyewitnesses that put her with yellow, the poor crew member who, just because he danced with her. And it's like, because he's a married guy and he danced with her, and I guess he liked the ladies. And people call him creepy. I'm not saying the guy is an upstanding citizen, but he's on ships for long periods of time away from wives. Not unlikely that he might make passes at women. Doesn't make him a killer. There's no evidence he ever left the ship with her. So the whole thing is nonsense. And everybody's going, oh, he did something to her. He killed her and put her in he sedated her and put her in a big, huge box and hauled her off the ship. That's just nonsense. Oh my God. And then he talks about credible eyewitness sightings, which there were none of. I know for a fact she didn't run away to start a new life. Well, okay, then that takes away that, doesn't it? So you're saying she was kidnapped. The fact she didn't fall, she didn't jump, didn't run away, at least only one possibility. She was taken and removed from the ship for whatever reason. What reason would that be? Maybe she'd been kidnapped off the ship and then her parents had gotten like another ransom note, but they didn't. So why would they do that? Oh, this is the last one. It says is when asked about a glass table pushed against the balcony railing, Brad noted that he believed it was, quote, moved to support a narrative that the cruise line would like everyone to believe. So now he's claiming that the cruise line put the table there to make it look like she committed suicide, to get them off the hook. Well, first of all, the cruise line, I don't see any fault on the cruise line at all. I don't know where the fault would be. She wasn't killed by one of their people. So I guess one of the people kidnapped her off the ship. That's what they're trying to cover up. Well, I'm pretty sure they didn't believe that happened because there was no evidence that happened, and that they made no sense that happened. So they either thought she disappeared on her own, or she went over the balcony. If she went over the balcony, it's not their damn fault. She either fell over the balcony drunk or she jumped over the balcony. They're not going to stage a scene to make it look like she killed herself so they can get out of what? Just nonsense. Oh, sorry, Brad. It looks like a pre-COVID Ellen. He does. I mean, it's really weird. Oh God. She's a learned lawyer. What's your point? She's a lawyer, but she has, in my opinion, she's got a thing with the Innocence Project, getting people out of prison who, in my opinion, were guilty. So she could be all the learned she wants to be, but if she was so learned, she would know this isn't sex trafficking and she wouldn't promote this kind of nonsense. So I say to you, Kim Kardashian, who doesn't know me or care about me or ever respond to me, do the right thing. Stand up and say, as a lawyer, understanding how things work, I spoke with a mother, but I want to say there was no sex trafficking involved. She'll never say that. You know why? Because the sex trafficking angle is what brings the publicity. So that's the way people work. And speaking of annoyances, now we have this. Oh, we do have this. Oh, yes. Amanda Knox has returned. Yes, she had. Raffaello. There she is with him, and there are the 2 people playing each of them in the new movie coming out, because we certainly needed yet another movie. The movie was made by where'd it go? I'll find the article just a minute. Amanda Knox. Oh, by the way, in case you still want to know more about the Amy Bradley thing, yes, I did. The main one I've done was Amy Bradley. How did she leave the ship, the cruise ship? And so check that one out. And I go into all the issues of all the evidence. And then I also did this one. This is the recent one, Amy Bradley and the Myths of Sex Trafficking, where I talk about this ludicrous sex trafficking claim that has not that, and I keep telling people it's not that sex trafficking doesn't exist, but it's not the way people think it is, because so much stuff is being pushed in the media and in documentaries and every place of people just being snatched off into sex trafficking, and it's nonsense. It's not the way things work. And so I explain in that video how it actually works. I will try to remember to put the links below. If not, just put in profiler Pat Brown, Amy Bradley, and it'll come up with it in the search engine at YouTube. And I also did this one, Amanda Knox, guilty or innocent? I know there's a good portion of people, probably the majority, that believe Amanda Knox was 100% innocent. And the guy that was convicted was basically a rapist and killer, serial killer type. I'm not objecting to that. However, if you watch my video, I will point out the issues of the crime scene, which do not have that man being there by himself. That there is somebody else who was there staging a crime scene and also moving certain things around that he couldn't have done. Especially the whole thing about the door, which I'm not going to get into here, but it's in that video. And Amanda Knox, in my opinion, exhibits a personality disorder of a certain kind. If she wasn't involved, she still has a personality disorder, which would make her look more involved because she has a personality disorder, in my opinion, but not as a psychologist or a psychiatrist, because I cannot diagnose. Just saying. I read her book. It bothered me. She doesn't seem to understand the way people, a lot of her behaviors are concerning, as far as she doesn't see how she comes across. So she can make herself look guilty when she's not. But she also framed an innocent man with her statements, said, my boss, he did it. She said, I was in the apartment and he did it. And he did win against her as far as the lawsuit goes. She was, it's a lawsuit, I can't remember how that was done, but Lumumba, anyway, she is guilty of that, of slandering him. And a lot of people think she only did that because police forced her into it. No, she had time to think about it, and she still claimed he did it. And therefore, I think that she was more involved in what happened in that apartment than people believe this to this day. I'm not saying that she necessarily did any part of the actual murder, but she was there. I believe she was there. And so you have to watch the whole video to understand. It's one of these things that you can't explain it just, a little piece here and a little piece there. You have to understand how the whole thing plays out and what all the evidence is at the crime scene to understand. The totality of the evidence does not exclude her or somebody else being at that scene. As a matter of fact, it indicates somebody else was at that scene. So anyway, you can check that out. But anyway, she's got a new show coming up. And so a new movie, it's a series coming out that none of us need to watch. Where is it? Hold on a second. Where'd it go? Shoot. How did it go missing? Okay, now I got to put it in. It disappeared off my thing here. But believe me, it's big news, so it will pop up in 3 seconds flat. So she has this new series coming out. By the way, when she wrote her book, she made $3.5 million on it. So crime does pay, or being adjacent to crime does pay. Either way. Let me pull this up. Amanda Knox. All right. Ooh. Let's see. Amanda Knox joins forces with Monica Lewinsky to bring her story to the screen, bring her story to television. Amanda Knox was just 20 years old in 2007 when she made headlines as the American exchange student in, I can't pronounce it, Perugia, Italy, whose British roommate, Meredith Kircher, the one who is always forgotten, the family is just pretty much frustrated beyond belief because it's all about Amanda Knox. Everything's about Amanda Knox and what Amanda Knox suffered when Meredith was the one raped and brutally murdered. Knox spent 4 years behind bars, convicted and reconvicted of murder before Italy's highest court finally cleared her in 2015. Throughout her ordeal, the media demonized her as Foxy Knoxy. She helped demonize herself. So, sometimes if you don't want to be demonized, maybe your behavior should be better. Now her wrongful conviction story, which I'm not sure is entirely wrong, is dramatized in an 8-part series for Hulu. 8 parts. Oh my God. Knox is the executive producer of The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox, having teamed up with another woman with a controversial past, Monica Lewinsky. In the series, Knox is played by actress Grace Van Patten, who says in the voiceover, "Many people think they know my story, but it's finally my turn to tell it." She's already got 2 books. She's told her story over and over again. Everybody knows her story. But now we're going to be manipulated into whatever else she wants to tell her story. And so I'm trying to see if this is she's working to reclaim her narrative. She wrote 2 memoirs for a shitload of money and was interviewed for a Netflix documentary in 2016, which I'm pretty sure she was paid for. Ultimately, the thing I was seeking after I'm being ostracized and vilified and literally in prison was human connection. And I want people to relate to my experience. I want them to say, I understand. No, I don't. Because Patrick Lumumba was accused of being a murderer by you. I don't understand it all. Okay, she hopes to convince those who still believe she and Solicito were involved. Even though a man named Rudy, I can't pronounce his name either, Guede, was the only person definitively convicted. That's a good statement right there. I'll give him credit on that. He was the only person definitively convicted of the murder in the long run. They were convicted twice. He was released from prison in 2021, and now he's got an ex-girlfriend saying he sexually assaulted her. So he's supposedly, and people saying, see, it proves he was. I'm like, I never said that guy wasn't a rapist, but I'm not even sure that he really did this to his ex-girlfriend. But hey, once you've dated a creep like that, I mean, you can claim anything and people will believe you. So anyway, after years of feeling misunderstood, Knox says she gave her first public talk in 2017. I was terrified of saying the wrong thing. Maybe you should have been terrified of that, like at the time. Maybe not doing cartwheels and stuff, you know what I mean? And kissing your boyfriend when your roommate's been brutally murdered. But anyway, those are just small things. So anyway, she's taking advice from Monica Lewinsky. All right. Monica Lewinsky was vilified and sexualized, made to feel like she was worthless. Maybe don't give blowjobs to the president under the desk. Just saying. Oh, Lord. Lewinsky says, look, I made a bad choice. Yeah, you did. At least she admits that. Amanda, did you know? Nothing. Yes, she did. She accused a man of murdering Meredith, who didn't have anything to do with it. Lewinsky is now an anti-bullying activist and podcaster. And let's see, blah, blah, blah. Women get collateral damage because of misogyny. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Oh, so anyway, you too can watch this, or if you're really smart. And here she is kissing her husband, and she's also happy that she's got this new show coming up. And she tries to throw out this thing like, oh yeah, and we shouldn't forget Meredith. All right. Oh, that's a good question here. Is the movie taken a major root of this belief? Oh, about being kidnapped off the street? I don't know that it's the major one, but it probably didn't help. People don't seem to understand the difference between fiction, because fiction, you always exaggerate because it's hard to, you want something super, super exciting. So you have to have something incredible. one can enjoy watching those things without necessarily believing they're accurate to real life. Eye for an Eye with Sally Field was one of my favorites with Kiefer Sutherland. And I think that was as accurate to real life I've ever seen a movie about a serial killer. That one nailed it. I mean, it wasn't popular either, probably because for some reason it was too real or something. But that was so accurate. Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it. Except for the ending was not accurate, but it was fun anyway. But I mean, fiction is always exaggerated for the most part, because I mean, there are some things where you could say, well, truth is stranger than fiction. That does happen. You can have a story which you can't believe is actually true, but it is. But, you know, it didn't. So Taken was one of those things that added to fear people had that their teenage daughters are just going to be kidnapped off the street. And again, they should be afraid of the teenage daughters being kidnapped off the street, but by serial killers, not by sex traffickers. That's why I want people to understand how many, when you think about it, in the long run, when you hear of somebody who's been kidnapped from your neighborhood, from your state, a young woman who's been disappears, it's always a serial killer. How often do you find out it's a sex trafficker? Almost never, because it's not. So children, if they're kidnapped, it's child sex predators. They're usually dead within a couple hours, and nobody's keeping them. And you will get the one strange story. The only strange story I know of was there's two stories. One was the guy who kept the three girls. He kidnapped and put them in his basement. I think it's three girls. And then there was a guy who kidnapped two boys and put them in his basement or whatever. And they kept them captive. But again, we're not talking about sex traffickers. We're talking about two creepy dudes who decided to basically have his own personal sex slaves. So that it was still pretty much a serial killer type, just that he kept them instead of killing them right away. But they were teenagers, so they weren't annoying like little children. So there is a 99% that are like this. And if there's 1% that's like that, some freaky thing, well, then it's a freaky thing. But people they keep going on and on about the sex trafficking as if people are being snatched up all over the place to be put into sex rings. I mean, and many times the families want to believe that, especially if the children are actually involved in prostitution. So I was like, my daughter went to Las Vegas. I think she was kidnapped into a sex ring. I'm pretty sure your daughter's just prostituting in Las Vegas. And if she went missing because she ran into a John who was a serial killer, or her pimp was a violent guy and he killed her and tossed her into the desert. Or, a number of things could have happened, but it probably wasn't because she was being literally kidnapped. So, yeah. Definitely, yeah. It was an amazing film in my opinion. Kiefer Sutherland, just unbelievable. I mean, just unbelievable in it, and just the things that she went through will never leave your head. Especially the scene with her when her daughter is being murdered by Kiefer Sutherland, and it's something that stays in your head forever. But not in a way that is like Last House on the Left, which is a slasher film, which is one of my most hated films of all time. And I think the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. And there's a lot of them like that, but this is the only one I ever saw by accident. It was in a movie theater, and I was so shocked I couldn't believe what I was watching. And it was well done to the point where it looked like it was really happening. So it was like watching a snuff film. And it was horrifying because I saw the anguish on the girls' faces. And it was sickening, even though that was fake, but it was sickening. And it was done in a way you're supposed to enjoy it. That was the difference. In this Eye for an Eye, there's a horrific scene, but you're seeing it through the eyes of the mother and the emotions she is dealing with, and it's an amazing scene. Whereas in a slasher film like Last House on the Left, you're supposed to see it through the thrill of watching people suffer. It's sick, and if people like that film, I don't want to be your friend. I don't. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, she did a good job portraying the fear of strangers after that, not being able to identify the predator from normal people on the street. This film had so many different things in it that were amazing. Just so many, how the police investigation worked or didn't work, what she dealt with going to groups, so she was trying to get help. Kiefer Sutherland and his way he lived. Just There was just so many pieces of it that were just brilliant. And by the way, there's a book that was supposedly based on Eye for an Eye. Don't get it. It's first of all, a terribly written book, but secondly, it has nothing to do with this at all. I bought it. And I'm like, what is this? And I don't know. Apparently, she got paid for that. I really didn't understand how that movie came out of that book. So go figure. Anyway, I would suggest not watching the Amanda Knox thing because I think it's not necessary. All right, let's go to the desperate search for the 7-month-old baby that was supposedly kidnapped while she was attacked outside the store. All right, pretty much everybody's suspicious of this. The police are very much suspicious of that baby was not actually kidnapped outside the store because it seems pretty weird. And she got this little black eye, supposedly because somebody punched her, I guess, before they stole the baby. And this is who is this? Where is this? Hold on a second. Who is this? Oh, here she is this is her, Rebecca Haro, I'm not sure again, with her husband, Jake, pleading for their son's return. And here's this little boy. Yes, he does have crossed eyes. Okay, so here's a little boy who is now missing and probably not alive. Authorities investigating reports of a sighting. Yeah, nobody saw this kid. Anyway, wait a minute. That's okay. So here, I'll tell you what really struck me in this case. So supposedly she and there's 2 other kids, I guess, were going at a soccer game, and wait a minute, hold on a second. I want to find the part where she said she had the baby with her, the 7-month-old baby. She went to the store to buy like a mouth thing guard for one of the sons at the game. She's got the baby with her, and she needs to change his diaper. So she's got the door open. She's in the parking lot at the sports store. And she said she was attacked and knocked unconscious as she was changing the child's diaper. Now, let me look at her face again. All right. So she said, somebody said, hola. And I'm guessing the theory on that is they said, hola, and she turned her head and they punched her in the eye and knocked her totally unconscious. She's got a bruise. Okay. Something tells me her eye should be a lot. If a guy knocked her unconscious with one punch, I'm going to say she should have worse bruising than that. And I also not sure why he would need to say hola, except that she wants to pin it on a Hispanic guy. But I don't know. Maybe just because a lot of Hispanics in the neighborhood, so it seems like a reasonable thing to say. I'm not sure whether she's Hispanic or not. Can't quite figure it out, or her husband. But so she supposedly gets knocked out while she's changing the child's diaper, and then she's attacked and knocked unconscious. So now she's lying on the ground theoretically. And then she gets up and the baby's missing, and she runs around looking for the baby. Let me find the other thing I wanted to find. That is okay. That's basically it. They haven't found the kid yet. Now, this is what stands out to me. What stands out to you so far? Oh yes, the father does have a terrible background. Yes, I'll bring that up while I might as well. The father does have a terrible background. I don't have a picture of that just as well, probably. But the father, where the heck is it? I'll tell you. Oh, okay, here. This is the other one. Hold on a second. It's getting stuck here. Don't do that. It's interesting. Some of the smaller news stations put out stuff in local areas. They put so many ads on their pages. They're hard to load. That's why it goes like this sometimes. You wonder why it's taking me so long to pull something up. It's because of the ads that they have embedded in their pages. Oh, okay. I can't even pull that one up. All right. They're unable to rule out foul play. Let's see. Okay. So that's the same thing there. The father, I'm trying to find the one about the father. The grandmother said the couple loves their son and wouldn't do anything to hurt him. However, the father apparently beat his infant daughter so badly, broke up whole bunches of her bones. This was a baby he had with somebody else. Okay, here. Let's see. Okay, this is what I wanted. So the husband he assaulted an infant, and he did spend some time. I think he spent some time in jail, but not enough, in my opinion. So anyway, broke her bones. But we'll ignore him for a bit. Just is what I want to point out to you. On August 15, around 7 p.m., Rebecca said her husband, and their 2 other children were at a local park for their son's football practice. She drove over to a Big Five sporting goods store to buy a mouthguard for her older son. She brought her baby, Emmanuel, along with her. So I came over here and parked right on the edge. When I was driving over, I smelled the baby had went to the restroom. And so I said, "Don't worry, we are going to change you." After parking, she laid the baby down on the car seat to change his diaper, and the last thing she remembers is hearing a stranger's voice before she was attacked. I was going to get the diaper, and somebody said, "Hola." I don't remember anything since. I woke up here on the floor. I didn't see Emmanuel. I'm not quite sure what kind of vehicle she has. It's just a little confusing. But let's just stop here for a minute. And she woke up with a black eye and her baby nowhere in sight. She frantically searched around the car, and then she ran to the store, called 911. And then they sent in some dogs. And the father said they don't have any enemies. Can't imagine why anyone would take the baby. Okay. Just going back now. Do you notice anything strange in her statements and her behaviors? All right. So my money, he killed the child, coerced the wife, and concocted the story, probably gave her the black eye too. I'm sick of the same thing. Let's see. She was outside and fell. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how she fell on the floor. I mean, if you have a big SUV and you got that, a sliding door open, you're putting them on there, you could get nailed and then fall on the floor, I guess. It's a little odd. I'm not liking it. His daughter is now 7 and disabled, living with her aunt. What a lovely guy. This is an interesting point. This is great for you. Are you going to steal the child mid-change? Why not wait until he's redressed? So I would like to know how much she laid the baby down on the car seat. So theoretically, they managed to grab the baby before she was changing, because if she was in the middle of changing the baby, you would think there would be a whole bunch of poop, going on everywhere. You know what I mean? So I guess this was before. Now, if they're going to attack somebody and steal their baby, I guess you might not know he was stinky. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Didn't the store have cameras? Well, she said she parked on the edge. Why would you do that? Why would you park far away from where there would be cameras? That's the real issue. What else do you notice in the story, though? Well, is she on the floor of the car? Is she on the ground? I mean, the story, I can't quite tell what the story is. I want to read you something here. She says this. 2 things still. She said, when I was driving, the kid is 7 months old. When I was driving over, I smelled the baby and had went to the restroom. So I said, "Don't worry, we are going to change you." What's the problem here? That's true. It's not really a black eye. Does anybody think that's a strange statement? I don't know who the we is. That's a good question. That's one thing. This is also true. People with children usually park in the front of parking lots, easy to get in and out of the stores or the parking lot. Yeah, closer to the carts than the front door. They don't park on the edge where there are no cameras, which seems to be on purpose. I'll tell you what bothers me about this. So I said, I smelled the baby as we're driving along, and I said, oh, you smell bad. So I said, don't worry, we are going to change you. She's telling a story. Why is she telling this as a story? She's not, this is where statement analysis comes in. She's not just giving facts. I drove to the place. The baby was smelly. So before I went to the store, I changed his diaper. And while I was changing his diaper, I got hit. Scripting, correct. She is creating a story. She's scripting this as if this is happening. She wants you to believe it's a fictionalized story is what it is. She was using a parking lot as an alibi. Well, the question is, nobody saw the kid at the park. She wants to sound more believable. What's the other thing? Now, this is the other thing that really struck me. Tell me if you have the same thing. Around 7 p.m., Rebecca and her husband and their 2 other children were at the local park for their son's football practice. So she wanted to get a mouthguard for her older son, so she drove over to the sporting goods store. She brought her baby Emmanuel along with her. As parents with children, or if you've been a parent with children, or you're a grandparent with children, what's odd about this whole scenario? What's odd? Somebody's got to come up with this. Nothing odd. Nothing strikes you as odd about that? Come on, somebody. Read it again. She and her husband and their 2 other children were at the local park for the son's football practice. She decided she wanted to get a mouth guard, so she drove over to the store. Thank you, Tetra Finn. There you go. Taking the baby with her. And also, Lisa says you wouldn't take the baby. The husband is sitting there with 2 other kids. The kid's 7 months old. It's not like, it could be nursing. But, if you want to run to the store and back, first, I'd like to know if he's nursing, because he isn't nursing, then the dump bottle's there too. It's a pain in the ass to take that baby, put it in the car seat, drive over there, take the baby out of the car seat. All that work you're going to do when all you want to do is drive over, grab a mouth guard, and drive back. And you've got somebody with the other 2 kids. Anyway, why doesn't the baby just stay with dad? That seems just odd. Oh, why in the middle of a game? Well, it's a practice. So maybe he realized he should have had a mouth guard, didn't have one with him. Could be. But, well, that could be true. Husband is probably an ass. He said, take it. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. So, there is another side to that story. But these are the kind of things I would want to be talking about to find out why certain things happened. And this is where the detectives come in when they're interrogating, depending which way you're looking at it. So, you could have said, take all the kids, because he wants to go do something else. But the fact she parked on the edge, meaning away from the cameras, to me that is probably the biggest thing. And the storytelling she's doing doesn't make sense to me. The story doesn't make sense to me. And the bruise doesn't seem to be appropriate. So yes, and the husband did brutalize his infant daughter. So they're looking at him. I'm pretty sure they are looking at him having done something to that boy. So, yeah. So we'll see what they come up with, but they haven't found the child yet. But there are people say they didn't see a baby at the game. So far, that's what they're saying. So in other words, where was the baby ever there at the game? Or did they just drive over and then she pretends she goes and gets the baby kidnapped? I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea. Well, she hadn't changed the diaper yet. The dirty diaper would be on the baby. So these are when you're investigating a crime, you have to look at all possibilities and you have to look at all the details. Yeah, I would ask her, why did you park on the edge of this place? Why didn't you park near the door? Why did you take the baby with you? I'd have a lot of questions. Where exactly did you fall? How long, where exactly were you unconscious? Would that make you unconscious? Somebody can knock you out with a good punch, but usually she would look worse than that with a good solid right hook or something to the face. Which I wasn't trying to remember. Right hook, left hook. Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Their interview was a joke, no emotions whatsoever, and he stared at her the whole time she spoke. Interesting. He prefers to brutalize infants. Well, he's a winner. Oh, by the way, there's another character in there. Where is that one? Where's the other story about this is called the unsettling twist to the Emmanuel story. Uncle's brave and cover up of girlfriend's murder is revealed. It's a great family. So, yeah, hold on. Again, we have another stuck page. Oh, here we go. The baby's uncle was found guilty of murdering his girlfriend and trying to cover it up in 2017. Oh, that's nice. Let's see. What did he do to the girlfriend? Okay, so the child cruelty thing, the father, Jake had previously pleaded guilty to willful child cruelty after his baby daughter was hospitalized with broken bones in 2018. But they also found that Rebecca's brother, James Bouchon or something like that, is serving 50 years to life in prison for fatally shooting his girlfriend in their apartment and trying to stage it as a suicide. On March 15th, 27-year-old Keith, that's her last name, her name was Jalen Amanda Keith. She was found with a single gunshot wound to the center of her forehead, which is not the way people kill themselves, by the way. Especially women, turning the gun around and putting the gun to here is not normal. Single gunshot wound to the center of her forehead in the bathtub of the apartment she shared with him. He claimed he had been sleeping when she shot herself in the bathroom. He woke up and heard a popping because he heard a popping sound. During the trial, they described him as a gun enthusiast who would have recognized the sound of a gunshot, which helped to unravel the entire case. Investigators allege that he knocked Keith out, put her in the bathtub, shot her in the head while shielding himself from blood spatter with a shower curtain. Great family. Caitlin says, I got a black eye from opening a cabinet door into my eyebrow. She wasn't knocked out. I don't think so either. But yeah, what a group of people. Oh, and speaking of this, groups of kind of people, the other week I wanted to talk about this woman, and who was killed by a domestic case. Her name is Melissa Mingle, and she was killed by that character on the right. And I wanted to talk about it, and when I got back to the article, there was a paywall up there, so I got stuck in the middle of the show. Well, to get by the paywall, I paid $1 today because they gave a 24-hour access to the site. So I paid the $1 so I can get access to this one article because I just thought it was really interesting. Where is it? Okay, here we go. Hopefully, I didn't take it away from me. Okay, do not do that. I paid my $1. Okay. It says here, the murder of Melissa Mingle is a cautionary tale of domestic violence. And I really liked it because it was a cautionary tale. And so I think it's worth hearing. Before Melissa Mingle was murdered in 2019, the mother had endured several years of domestic abuse at the hands of her ex-boyfriend, Nathaniel White Young. There were calls to the police, reports of stalking, accounts of trespassing, and eventually a felony charge for strangulation. Those instances led up to White Young killing Mingle in her home in 2019 before setting the house on fire and running off with their 18-month-old son. Now he got a plea deal, and he's at 37 years in prison. Now, this is, I thought what the district attorney said was really important. Sullivan County Assistant District Attorneys Kristen Rose and Kaylin Render call the case a cautionary tale of domestic violence. Quote, when people show you who they are, believe them. And this is so frustrating to me so often, is that people in relationships, whether it be a romantic relationship, whether it be a friend relationship, whether it be a relative relationship, They have somebody who is not treating them nicely, and they make a billion excuses for it. And they accept too much behavior that should be red flags, should say, hey, this isn't the way you're supposed to treat a person. But they accept it, and they put up with it, and they hope that it'll change. And all this is, the person is telling you who they are, because people do not act in a way that is not the way they are, unless something like they suddenly had a brain tumor or something. A pattern of escalating violence. The district attorney said, our hope is this story helps other women recognize the signs early before it gets to this point. It shouldn't get to, I mean, how many, it's like escalates. And it's like you should have jumped away from the relationship way back here, but you let it, you just stayed in it as it escalated and went out of control and got worse and worse and worse. So what happened to this woman? Earliest documented police report came in 2014. So we're talking 5 years before she was murdered. When Mingle began reporting instances of white young stalking her and showing up to her home uninvited. Over the coming years, Rose said that violence began to escalate. If you look at him from a bird's eye view, you can see the abuse starts to get more serious over the years. But they continue their relationship. The guy is stalking you and being violent, but you're still in a relationship with him. So they continue, and it turns very violent. It is typical for victims of domestic violence to stay with their partner after instances of abuse, according to the prosecutor. It could take up to 7 attempts to leave an abusive relationship for good. That's 6 times too many. At least 5 times too many. So, even if you could say, okay, this might be a one-off thing. When it's no longer one-off and happens twice, it's a pattern right there. Then you need that. Personally, I get out after 1. If it's physical. Now, emotional abuse is a little trickier because you often don't see it as that. You don't realize that, like digs or insults or controlling behaviors, you don't see that as clearly. But if it's violence, that's pretty obvious. Nobody should ever put their crummy little hands on you. It's hard to speculate as to why Melissa stayed or why she would maybe minimize some things that Nathaniel did to her. But some typical reasons are, I love him. He'll change. We have a child together, so I'm going to try to make it work. Mingle and White Young did share a child, but prosecutors said the mother had a good support system through her family. Mingle eventually followed through on a 2018 felony domestic assault charge after White Young strangled her in a car. Okay, strangling? Definitely unacceptable. Strangled her in a car. But the case was pled down to a misdemeanor at her request. And this is where you get the woman protecting her assaulter. White Young pled guilty to the charge and was given nearly a year of probation. He was also ordered to attend anger management classes because those are always so useful, and was instructed to have no contact with her. When he killed her the next year, he was still on probation for that offense. The night of that this happened, now mind you, he's supposed to have what? No contact, because he strangled her. Mingle and White Young were reportedly seen together on the morning of October 6, 2019. Surveillance footage at her home shows the two speaking calmly on the back patio with their toddler nearby. No contact means no contact. And this woman, she just kept giving in to, I don't know what it was. But once a guy strangles you, you should never, ever, ever want him near your child either. I don't even know if he had rights to see that child, but if you strangle people, you shouldn't be around a kid. So anyway, she let him in the house, and they were seen on the back patio. Then something turned. Well, because with these kind of people, just because they're calm 1 minute doesn't mean in the next minute they're not going to kill you. And no one will ever truly know what happened inside that house except for Nathaniel, and he'll lie about it anyway. Mingle's blood was later found inside her bedroom, on the concrete outside the house, and on the siding of the home. Prosecutors believe there was some kind of violent altercation inside, followed by more physical violence outside the home. The medical examiner found blunt force trauma to the back of Missy Mingle's head, where she had multiple injuries, but a second injury was strangulation. And there was damage to some of her neck muscles. After the attack, prosecutors said White Young flipped over a lawnmower in the home so the gas would leak out, and then he lit the house on fire. There was a ridiculous amount of damage done to the home. A neighbor spotted Mingle lying outside, unresponsive. She was still alive when EMS arrived, but she died at the hospital a day later. After the incident, White Young fled with her 18-month-old son and disappeared for almost 2 days. After dropping his son off with a friend, he left 7 notes across different locations, one at a gas station, before attempting suicide by carbon monoxide poisoning in Hawkins County. He did actually try to kill himself. They found him in the car. They were able to revive him. What a shame. So he's in prison for the rest of his life, where he needs to be. That's why I wanted to read this one last week, because it just kept getting worse, and she kept hanging around him. And she shouldn't have been near him, and that child shouldn't have been near him. Well, it's amazing that the child is even alive. But now the child has no mother and really no father either, right? Horrifying. That's a good point, Frida. Women underestimate the damage staying with a violent man does to children. Yeah, I mean, your children shouldn't be around violence, whether you're male or female. If that partner is violent toward you, then the child is seeing violence and learning disrespect, learning fear. And then that violence can often spill over to the children as well. It just, there's no excuse for violence, just none. And it is true. Some women just can't be saved. It is, and a lot of times then the children go down with them. Yeah, and sometimes women kill their children, so women can be violent as well. There was there's a new. I wasn't going to talk about that case because I'm almost out of time too. There's a woman who just shot her husband and her 2 kids, and then herself. And supposedly the husband had like a brain tumor or something, and she didn't know, she couldn't stand being alone after he died, and having 3 kids, I think, and having to take care of 3 children. So she killed him, she killed 2 of the kids, killed herself, and then there's the one leftover kid. I'm pretty sure that she had patterns of behavior before she killed everybody except that one child that were obvious signs of probably psychopathy. Yeah, she's got some little videos out, and she sounds like, I'm dealing with this really difficult stuff. And so people like to feel sorry for women, so they're like, she just couldn't emotionally handle it. Yeah, you're losing your husband. You have 3 children to take care of. So you kill them? It's like, I don't know. I don't know why she left that one alive. I don't know. That's really weird. She killed the older children, didn't kill the younger one. Yeah. She was all over social media trying to get attention. She was prior to that. Yeah. We see so much like on TikTok with people who that's their thing, is getting massive amount of attention. Now, sometimes they're bringing some really interesting issues to light, but sometimes it's a personality disorder. Yeah, I don't know who's ending up with that baby. Let me see what it says here just before we close up here about, let's see, mother murders children and husband. Let's see. Okay, she is, nice looking. So I'm trying to move this here. Nice looking family, so nice looking. It says here, let's see, mother's disturbing TikTok. She's on TikTok. I don't know how much on TikTok, but she was on there. Days before the disaster. A struggling mother had documented her husband's battle with terminal brain cancer in a series of increasingly distressing TikTok videos before they were both found dead inside their home alongside 2 of their children. She was 34, her husband's 48. 2 of their children, 8-year-old Parker and 6-year-old Ryan, were shot, and then the surviving child was 3 years old. Go figure. She started documenting her family's journey after her husband was diagnosed with an aggressive form of brain cancer. His diagnosis was terminal. She said she was struggling with her husband's diagnosis, and she was committed to improving her mental health. Well, should have been committed. All I want to do is hide under a blanket with my kids, but that isn't healthy for them. No, it's better to shoot them. Sorry, Jesus God. I mean, it's better to shoot them. God. You know, there's an interesting, they're trying to find out whether he really had brain cancer. So they had a nice house, seemed to be well off enough. I know she would be going through a great deal of, losing someone to brain cancer, having to deal with their decline is horrifying. But, people do manage to deal with this all the time because if nothing else, they want to be there for their children. They don't want something to happen to their children. Their children are going to lose their dad. They don't want their children to lose their mom too. But in this case, I guess she just solved the problem all the way around. Now they didn't have to miss their dad or their mom. So, except for that 3-year-old who won't remember, right? So, but I'd like to know whether he actually did have brain cancer, because she could be Munchausen's. She could be on TikTok making up a story. I don't know. We'll have to see whether in the autopsy, whether when the police do their investigation, whether they find that he had been indeed, was terminal, or maybe she wanted to make him terminal. Don't know. So I might come back with this, more on the story when I actually get some information on it. It's just happened, so don't really know. Yeah, it's weird. She never went to get help. She just spread her journey to social media. Yeah, it's just pretty horrifying. That is probably true too. Oh, you're talking about the abuse. Intermittent reinforcement, like gambling. They want the hit of the abuser's good side. That's a good point. It's like, I want that, when they're finished being mean to me, then they turn around and be nice. So now I get that kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like a drug hit. And then it goes downhill, and then you struggle, but then you get that hit again, the good hit, not the bad hit. In theory, yeah, it's especially when you have a child, it's just very important for people to understand that this is not acceptable. It's not acceptable as a mother or as a father. It's not acceptable to put your children in this kind of situation and endanger them. It's just not acceptable. So, like the woman with the missing baby, why was she with this guy? The guy beat an infant. The guy beat an infant, yet she married him anyway. I'm sorry, but that's a guy who should never, ever be married again, or at least never have children again. So you knew this guy almost killed the baby, broke up her bones, and you're like, oh, it's okay. What? And you married him anyway. Nah. Anyway, okay, that's what I'm going to stop here tonight. I think I covered most of the things I was going to cover, amazingly enough. What was that? Oh, I'll skip that one until next week. Oh, here's a fun one. This is just such a weird, creepy thing. Okay, where's the guy's head? Guy on a motorcycle. Where's his head? I just think that it really, I was like, what the heck? Anybody know? Where's the head? Oh, thank you, Lisa. I'm glad you're here, and I always enjoy having you guys here. Well, you did it. You got it. Looking down, yeah. That a lot of people think that the big roundish red area is part of his arm, like he's a big, well-built guy, and that's his really tough, big shoulder. But that is his head looking down. But it does give the illusion that he's headless. It's the Terminator. I just thought that was funny. I ran across that, and I was like, and it took me a bit. I'm like, where is his head? So, but what a great shot, I don't know if it was on purpose, but it probably wasn't. It just looked like one of those things where somebody's taking a picture of me and you look down, and when I looked at it later, they went, whoa, dude, you're missing your head, pretty cool. So anyway, yes, let's wrap it up. And as far as the headless horseman motorcycle style, now you see it. Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Yeah, but so I do not know what I'm going to do this weekend. I was asked to do the yogurt, the yogurt, the yogurt one. Shoot. You know what I'm talking about, right? So HBO just put out the yogurt shop murders, and I actually did speak about the yogurt shop murders on a hangout. I said the reason I did it was I watched 48 Hours. This is about, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and I said there wasn't enough, in my opinion, for an entire show. And so then this new one came up at HBO. But I looked at the people's reviews and ratings. Pretty much everybody hates it. They say it's absolutely awful, boring beyond belief, doesn't really get into the police investigation, some real idiots on there, and then a whole bunch of very sad stuff with the families and the community. And they're like, you know, then everybody said they stopped watching it. They couldn't take it. And apparently it offers no more than the 48 Hours show ever offered. So I may do a full show on it, but I'm not sure. I'm going to have to review it and see whether, before I didn't, examine it enough to want to do a full show, or whether I was right back then. It just doesn't make a full show. So I'm not sure. The Nebraska 6 case. I'm not familiar with that one. Should watch the HBO. I'll take a picture of that so I can remember. Nebraska 6. Okay, I'm not familiar with that one. So I don't know. So I already talked about Skylar Neese. Did you weren't here for the hangout last week? I talked about Skylar Neese. There's not much to talk about. See, the difficult was that a female love triangle? No, not really. It was a triangle, but it was just that two of the girls decided to kill the third girl, and for reasons quite unknown. Yeah, go check it. It's from last week. Yeah, there's not enough for a whole show on that. Again, remember, I don't do storytelling, so if I were a regular true crime channel, I could tell the terrible story of Skylar Neese and ooh and ah, how sad and horrible it was. But there's no great analysis to be done outside of they killed her. They screwed it up so badly they got caught like in an instant. It was premeditated, and the motive is questionable. And so that's why I did talk about it during a hangout. That's where I put things in a hangout where it's not a 2-hour show is unnecessary because I'm not storytelling. So if I have a point to make about the case, I can make the point in 15 minutes. I'll do it during a hangout. And then I will save the full 2-hour shows for something that actually has something to talk about for 2 hours. That is interesting enough. So the yogurt shop was a try. No. Yogurt shop was 4 girls got brutally murdered in a yogurt shop. One was raped. They were all murdered. No, there was no love triangle there. It was a horrible, vicious crime. And the question is, a lot of it is, what was the actual motive of the crime, and who did it? Because there were some people that were convicted and then unconvicted. And then there were some other really good suspects, and then nobody freaking knows. You're muddled. It's okay. You can be muddled. It's fine. So anyway, I will see some of you. I will be doing that probably show. I have something I have to do on Sunday, so I'll probably do it at 1 o'clock as opposed to 3 o'clock. So it'll be earlier. And the only thing that would change on that is if somebody comes up with a really freaking great Australian or New Zealand show, then I do the show on Saturday night. So, who's putting a baby in a hot car? Oh, no, I don't know. I think you missed something there. Okay, anyway, I got to go. So I will see you guys, some of you, on Sunday. And you've got or Saturday night if you're Australian, have a great case, or New Zealand. Because I haven't done one in a while from there. So I'm always looking for fascinating cases from other countries. But it has to be something I can really dig into with crime scene analysis. That's what makes it work for me to have something to talk about rather than just tell a story. Anyway, see you later, guys. Bye.